10 ways to walk better with multiple sclerosis. Not all of these apply to everyone, so as Richard Branson said, take the best, leave the rest. Number 1, and very obviously, is exercise. Historically, doctors used to think exercise might be bad for MS, and the reason is because a lot of people with MS experience temporary worsening of their symptoms during heat or exercise, known as Uthoff's phenomenon, but in reality, in the long run, exercise is good. Many forms of exercise could be helpful: walking, working on an elliptical or stationary bike, but really the best form of exercise is whatever you like to do and can sustain on a regular basis and make part of your lifestyle. If you have significant neurological problems such as weakness, it may help to work with a physical therapist and get some specific recommendations tailored to you. A lot of people with MS find they do better in the cold, such as exercising early in the morning in an air-conditioned gym, and you may want to look into some cooling equipment like cooling vests. The MS Association of America will give you one for free if you meet certain criteria. As an aside, the MS Association of America accepts vehicle donations, so if you have an old car, truck, or boat that you don't need, consider donating, as I did last year, and they'll give you a receipt for tax purposes. Number 2, using appropriate walk aids. There's sort of a myth that using a cane or a walker will make you weaker or more dependent, but in reality, if appropriate, it will only help you, make you more independent and more likely to maintain your independence and mobility. There are also some specific devices for specific problems. For example, if you have foot drop or weakness of the anterior tibialis, the muscle that raises the toes, you could look into an AFO or ankle foot orthosis. And if you have weakness in the hip, the iliopsoas muscle, you could consider an HFAD device, hip flexion assist device. Number 3, functional electrical stimulation. These are devices that actually stimulate muscles, causing them to contract. One example is devices similar to an ankle foot orthosis, but they actually electronically sense your gait and stimulate to cause the anterior tibialis to contract, raising your toes at the right time. One brand is the Walk Aid device, and another brand is the Bioness device, and both could be helpful for the appropriate person, especially someone who has good overall strength in their leg, but a weak anterior tibialis. Some people like them, some people don't. Number 4, treat fatigue. There's a big connection between walking ability and general fatigue, and of course fatigue is a very common symptom of MS and is often the most disabling symptom. That being said, I do recommend some basic blood tests because not everything is related to MS, so it's a good idea to check a thyroid stimulating hormone, B12, or incomplete blood count just to make sure there's nothing else going on like anemia or B12 deficiency, and sometimes even a sleep study to make sure there's no sleep apnea if appropriate. That being said, of course, fatigue is very common in MS, and there are many things that could be done. There's evidence that sunlight could be beneficial or specific diets. There's evidence for both a whole foods plant-based diet, studies done by McDougall at Oregon Health Sciences University, and also the Terry Wahls diet, a paleo diet. Both of them could be beneficial. There's also evidence for certain medications such as amantadine and Provigil. Number 5, get better shoes. It is very frequent for me to see someone with MS with significant weakness who is making their walking worse by wearing absurd, uncomfortable shoes. Don't do this. Get yourself some nice tennis shoes. I can't really give advice on women's professional shoes, but for men who are forced to wear painful, uncomfortable shoes in a professional setting due to our society's absurd standards, I've had a good experience with Clarks. Number 6, address spasticity. Spasticity or muscle tightness is very common in MS and can affect gait mechanics. In fact, because of chronic sitting, our iliopsoas or hip flexor muscle is shortened, and it may be helpful to stretch, such as demonstrated here. It's also important to remain well hydrated and to eat a diet high in potassium, a lot of grapes, tomatoes, bananas, oranges, etc. Also, it could help to take a magnesium supplement such as magnesium oxide 400 milligrams once or twice daily. It's also been reported that the supplement L-Threonine could be helpful, which is a precursor to an inhibitory neurotransmitter. There are also prescription medications such as Baclofen, and medical marijuana or Botox could also be helpful. Number 7, improve your posture. A lot of people have stooped forward posture, impairing their gait mechanics. It's very important to have upright, neutral posture with shoulders back, the chin upwards parallel to the ground, and eyes facing forward, and make sure to engage your core muscles, raising your torso relative to your lumbar area. Number 8, maintain a healthy weight. A study was done on body mass index and walking speed, and people with higher BMI tend to walk slightly slower, and it makes sense. After all, force equals mass times acceleration. People who are underweight also walk slightly slower, possibly due to less muscle mass. Number 9, if you have a sedentary job, consider getting a standing desk. As I said before, sitting is really bad for you, and it can actually change your body mechanics over time. Standing is definitely healthier than sitting, and some people even say sitting is the new smoking. There's really good evidence that people who have jobs that require them to stand tend to live longer than those that sit all day, such as train conductor operators versus bus drivers. I actually recommend a treadmill desk if you can. I have one, I'm standing on it right now, and I've used it for several years, and I gotta say, walking at a slow pace, you can type, talk, even eat on a treadmill and read and do everything else you need to do for most jobs, and it has so many benefits in terms of keeping you energized and recirculating your blood. I'm only walking at 0.7 miles per hour, which is my typical pace, and I feel that it just has so many overall benefits. If you want to check it out, the search term you're looking for is under desk treadmill. Number 10, you could try the drug Ampera. This is dalfampridine or 4-aminopyridine, and it's a drug specifically indicated to improve walking speed in people with multiple sclerosis. It works on voltage-gated potassium channels, and it supposedly increases conduction through demyelinated areas of the nervous system. Now, the dose is 10 milligrams given every 12 hours, and that dosing is important because one of the rare side effects of this drug is seizures, particularly with overdose, and so they advise people take it at exact times to avoid blood levels getting so high. It's also excreted by the kidneys, and it could be dangerous in people with kidney impairment. In a randomized trial, 42.9% of people receiving Ampera had improvement of their walking speed versus only 9.3% of people taking placebo. So it's sort of hit and miss. It doesn't work for everyone. A reasonable approach is to try it for approximately 1 month, and if it doesn't work, just stop the medication. So I hope you got something out of the video, and if you have any suggestions or want to report your own experiences, please post in the comments below, such as experiences with professional women's shoes that are comfortable to walk in, or suggestions for other videos.